Hello. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this Zoom film screening that we're holding tonight. My name is Izzy Uzarali. I'm the Co-op Party's events coordinator. And I'm really pleased to have you join us tonight. It's the first time we've screened a film on one of our Zoom events. And we're really pleased that the Co-op has let us have the screening rights for this to share with you as our members. Just a few things about tonight's call, how we're going to run it. We're going to shortly hear from Ed Powell. He works at the Co-op, and I'll introduce him shortly. And then we're going to watch the film, and then we're going to go to Dr. Richard McCready, who's
You've muted yourself, Izzy.
Oh, I don't know how I managed to do that. Sorry. I hope you got some of that. Anyway, so we won't go to Richard after the film, who's going to talk about the legacy of the Rochdale Pioneers. First, whilst we're listening to the film, you can post any questions or you may want to have answered or comments in the chat. And then hopefully we'll have time to come to those at the end as well. You could also, if you want to speak at the end, raise your virtual hand so we can see you there. Just finally, before we start, I just want to emphasise that the Co-op Party believes that all our cooperative values should be reflected in our actions as well as our policies. We want all our members to feel, and our event participants to feel safe, welcome and respected. Please ensure you abide by this when you make your contributions later, and I look forward to hearing from them. And with that, I'd like to pass over to Ed Powell. Ed works on the Co-op Group's Access to Food mission, and he's a trustee of the Heritage Trust at the Pioneers Museum, and he's also a director of Co-op Loans. So over to you, Ed, and thank you very much for helping us with this screening tonight.
Thank you very much. Just like to warmly welcome everyone here tonight and say thank you for watching this film. It's a really important part of our history. It's our origins at Toad Lane that it talks about. And I think from those simple beginnings, those people coming together, 28 people putting in £1 each and forming a co-op that took them 4 months' wages each to put together, really speaks of our values of self-help, self-responsibility. They found a solution to overcome the situation they were in and kept eagle-eye focused on their members and on their communities. And I think that sits with the values of the Co-op group today. And when we look and we keep focus on those values, we grow and we grow together. There have been times in our past where we haven't done that, and actually we've had to learn strong lessons. So actually it's really important that we play this film, that we learn from our history, and that helps to shape and influence our future. So the work I do on access to food now is still a reflection of the same thing, of bringing justice to society. It reflects the work of the Co-op Party and the food justice plan and campaign, and it reflects the needs of our members and communities today. So I'm really excited about the work I'm doing now, and hopefully I can share more of that with you another time. But I'm always reminded of this origin story, because it's a story that is not just a story of history, but it's a story of now. And I'd like to say that it's a story that is one not of a book or of a film, but a story that we find ourselves in. So my question and challenge for us today is, what do we do with it to help cooperation grow now and in the future? Thank you.
And on that note, my colleague Stephen is going to share his screen, and we're going to watch the film now, and then we'll come back. The film will be about 55 minutes long, so we'll come back to you after it's finished. Thank you.
Life's never been fair round here. My grandfather, like so many of our men, went bravely to war. Some even faced Napoleon himself. Not all came back. And for those that did, there were no celebrations. No work. Just poverty. And in the factories, every new machine meant one fewer job and another family with an empty table. But what could they do about it? Vote. That's for our betters, my grandfather would laugh. But he never found it funny. The vote would never come for my grandfather. St. Peter's Field taught him that. The Peterloo Massacre. We all know someone who was there. All they were doing was asking to be heard. Instead, they were silenced. And when the cavalry charged, the first to die was just a baby. Even though the demand for reform cost some their lives, ordinary men and women continued the call with ever louder voices. But the loudest voice of all was the People's Charter, 3 million signatures, asking only for fairness and equality, and Parliament still didn't listen. The factory owners just do what's best for them and their friends and don't care whether that's good enough for us. So who's going to stand up for our right to a fair wage for honest work? The Northern Star says the people are not to be free. I don't think Parliament even see us as people, my father says. Workers are just part of the machinery, another thing to be owned. Life's never been fair. But all those people who've said no to us can't have their way forever.
Tell us again, why is he real? He's going to stop in 10 minutes.
Because he's got a good head on him.
Has he? Tell us again.
Come
Mother.
on, John!
How long's this supposed to take us?
3 hours there, 3 hours back, out at market.
Well, it's going to feel much longer.
Won't feel much longer if you don't cheer up, Sam. Last time with a smile, my old man would say.
That's better. Must have been that big olive cup of tea I had this morning, eh? Should we crack on, lads?
No chance it'd be a fine thing. Have you heard this, Bill? He wants us to hurry. Can you hurry, John?
I can try, Sam, eh? I can try, lad.
Can you try, Sam? That way we'll all be trying.
Come on then, Sam. Come on, pick the legs up, lad. Come on. Hey.
Come on, John.
Get your hands up, you fucking.
Come on.
Come on, Sam, where are you? Come on. Come on.
Afternoon, Jim.
Hello, William. Let me see.
Will you need us in tomorrow?
I don't know. How George Stanley's been ill today, and I haven't heard out. come in first thing in the morning, and if there is out, I'll make sure you get it.
Thanks, Jim. Gift of bacon.
William.
Don't say it, Betty. If I couldn't afford it, it wouldn't be in your hands now. You'll forgive us when it puts a smile on the old man's face.
I don't know. What can we do here, May? Sit down. Even his smile's sad these days.
Just like his bacon.
He does like his bacon. But how can that be high point of a man's day?
Things will turn round, love.
Till then, he lived for his work.
Things will turn round, love. You're the one who convinced us of that.
Well, that may be so. I just hope it's soon. We all do, of course.
It's not best bacon, but they told us it's definitely pig.
And it's not best bread either. Might fall apart as that bacon. You'd laugh at it. I dare something other than lard on it.
Never heard a loaf laugh.
You've never had to bake one.
Sit down, will you? Sometimes I think you're longer in your feet than any of us.
That's noisy near than where you work, though.
Now then, how did I know I'd find you here, Bill?
Where else would it be?
At home, maybe?
A man must see his wife, Sam. It's one of the rules.
There seems to be more rules to this man's life than a man can count. Good evening, Betty. Are you well? Mr. Smith seems as sprightly as ever.
Aye, that's just what we were saying. Almost what we were saying.
What is it, Sam?
Another meeting at the Weavers. Thought you want to attend?
What are you listening for, you, Sam?
Well, I know he's interested in it. And you are.
Thank you, Sam.
Don't know what it's about, though. More of his talking, no doubt. Loves the sound of his own voice. Can your father make it, Betty?
Not if he's just sat down. Father!
Hi, love.
Bill and Sam would like you to go to Weavers with him. Miles Ashworth is holding a meeting.
That can go on, love. They can tell us later. I've settled.
You'll let him know there's out to be said.
Bye, Father. Won't be long.
chance.
Of course we've to get store first. And we will.
That's right. Now't certain, but is it ever? Dr. Dunlop has agreed to meet with us, and he may take convincing, but I am confident we will get store.
There's already had a store, and that store failed. Where they gonna go now? Nobody'll lease this space.
We don't know that.
No.
Of course we do.
We don't.
Property owners are businessmen, and cooperatives aren't good business.
But not all businessmen are against us. Many sympathise with us. Of course, it's going to take time.
We've done plenty of that, haven't we?
I'm sorry, John. Of course, some of us are going to struggle. Some of us are struggling.
Aye.
There's no denying that. But it will be worth it. As soon as we have premises, we'll be up and running. The only way we're going to improve things for ourselves is through our own effort.
Yeah.
I think we all understand that, don't we? Bankers, manufacturers, merchants, they're not going to help us. They're too busy helping themselves.
We're not interested in politics, Mr. Howarth. Where's that got us, eh? One strike after t'other, and fewer jobs each time.
Keep your bodies on. Whereas cooperation have gotten us and all. Every single cooperative has failed. From here to Bolton. There's people here who've seen them fail, one after t'other.
Why'll it be different now? It will. Look, this is more than just politics. We're not all socialists here, nor Christian, nor we all Chartists. But we do agree on one thing, and that's that we deserve better. Yeah? We want a true society open to all, without discrimination. Social reform. Parliament won't give us that. Yeah, they won't even give us working men a vote. So we do for ourselves what they want. We can show them where.
But they're not listening, are they?
Why don't you just come out with it, John? What do I get out of it? That's what you want to know.
Well, why not? It's not Mr. Ashworth who'll lose his job, nor Mr. Smithies. It's thou, Standring, and us. We could lose our jobs tomorrow, and we're not the only ones here.
But we've got to keep on trying until we get it
But
right.
they're not listening to us, are they?
We don't need them, do we? Corps have failed, of course they failed before, but because the foundations have crumbled, and that's up to you. That's why we're doing it. We're going to do it for ourselves, and it's not about profit, it's about benefit for you, for your children, and for your families, and for the future.
Strikes ain't work. Protest marches, they're getting us nowhere. Look, we've to protect ourselves, and that's what this is. Look, we can look after ourselves, but if we don't do that collectively, then it won't be worth nought.
The Rochdale Society of Equitable Pioneers. That's what we are. A democratic organisation good enough to show up any of the bloody parliamentarians. If we're not together, we're nought. As Mr. Daly says, we all want social reform, better working conditions, better living conditions. And we might not agree on how to achieve it, but we know it won't be handed out on plate to us. We can make it work, but only with patience. Patience, trust, and bloody hard work!
It's really the best we could do. It's the best we could do, let me tell you, lad, and it was chosen from several. You know, I even had to put a new wheel on it myself, believe it or not.
Did you know? Who needs a wheelbarrow if you've note to fill it with?
We need a wheelbarrow, you daft apes. How big are your pockets?
We need a wheelbarrow, and we're going to fill it, Sam.
Aye, but with what?
With things, with our own things.
Things.
He knows that right enough, he's just acting the goat.
Oh, does he?
Aye.
Come on then, Sam. You take barrow, whilst it's empty.
All right.
Now to turn your nose up at.
Come on, Longshank, shape yourself.
Right, apart from the Manchester air. I say that, we're going to struggle getting this thing to Manchester.
You don't only say that, he's now without a struggle.
Come on, Sam, put your back into it.
I'll put my back out.
Aye. All right.
All right.
Of course.
Good evening, William. Mrs. Cooper.
Hello, Mr. Butterworth.
Evening, Mr. Butterworth. Our shop.
Oh, good, good. Lively. Yourself?
No worse off than anybody else.
Of course, of course. A lot of your friends are out of work, I suppose. Times being what they are. Still, makes you a lucky one, eh, Bill?
Shouldn't be down to luck whether a man works or not, Mr. Butterworth.
So much your pioneers believe, I presume.
You've heard of it then, Mr. Butterworth?
Oh, aye. A real folly, if you ask me. Running a shop. What do you know of that? I mean no offence, William. You're a capable man, I know that. There's a natural order of things, and with good reason.
They believe they'll succeed.
Do you, William?
I know it won't be easy.
If you doubts, entirely understandable. Let me tell you, it can't succeed, and I say that without malice.
We've already raised a fair sum.
That isn't even the start of it. Let me tell you, running a business is not easy. There's so much can go wrong, and you've now to fall back on.
A lot of people would agree with you.
Aye, and that'd be sensible, William. Wild dogs.
They're just children from the factory, Mr. Butterworth. Some at Doffers. They're harmless. They just get high-spirited.
They'll do some bloody damage one of these days.
They work hard, you know.
Harder than they should have to.
You know, there's a place opening in my shop soon. I would consider you for it, you know. You're a capable man.
Of a job, Mr. Butterworth.
A job, aye. But a future. Consider it, won't you, Bill?
I will. Thank you, Mr. Butterworth.
Consider it.
Just how long is this gonna take, Mr. Howarth? We can't afford to leave our money with you up at best. Subscriptions is what you needed, and that's what you're getting. Poor people's breasts, Mr. Howarth. What you doing with it? When are we gonna see something?
What missed?
We ain't kept it in the dark.
Nobody agrees on it.
Said all there is to say. We want loan to fill store, but no moneylender will give us it because they don't think we'll succeed. All we can do is keep trying, keep working.
And all we can do is keep waiting, keep worrying.
We must remain hopeful. Tomorrow, John and I are meeting with Weavers Association. After that, James and I are meeting with Dunlop. It's by no means our last chance.
And what happens when they reject us? If Weavers won't support us?
Please, have faith. The money we've already raised together, that proves our commitment. £22 is a terrific sum. Much can be done with it. Sooner or later, someone will recognise that.
And store, Mr. Howarth. What use is money when you've nowhere put what you've bought?
We keep talking to people every day. All it takes is one man to see past their prejudices, their pettiness. It takes some convincing, that's all. But I am certain it will be done soon.
You're certain? I'm certain that no Tory worth his name will help you. All this Chartist rubbish, where's that getting us, eh? Do we have votes? Oh, Parliament? We're nowhere near it. All we've had is strikes and fights, and I don't know how many people arrested. Progress? Putting machines in factories is the only progress they're bloody interested in.
Not everyone's happy tonight. Making it sound like the money's already been lost. Who knows, maybe it has.
We don't all feel same, Sam. Some of us still have hope. It's all we can afford.
Aye, that's all we've paid for. That hope. Now tell us who's come of it yet.
Yet. You know it yourself. And we're never going to be easy. We knew that. Right from the start, we knew it.
We're so close. We really can achieve something, Charles. You mustn't be downhearted.
Principle's there. They spelt it out this end a dozen times. We open store, and from store, everything else follows. We share.
Precisely. You've said it yourself, Charles. Putting people's conditions in their own hands at last.
Principles are there.
We're such a long way off from that. All we've done so far, it's clearly not enough.
We're making progress, though, Charles. That much is obvious. Even slow progress is better than naught.
Speaking of which, are we progressing with Hill? So I'll get 'em in, shall I? You need tall sailors, eh? And you got a tab at bar. I hope.
The principles are there.
Yes.
It's a minor change.
What is?
It's a minor change, but an important one. Now hold on a moment. What do we do with surplus, and how do we share it? For us to make this cooperative work, it's got to be about shop. Well, we know that. So, fairest thing is not how much you put into cooperative itself. It's how much you spend in store.
Aye.
End of the day, shop has to be self-sufficient. That can only be start of it. Everything we want, it all follows that.
There you go.
We have to make it work. We raise capital in shop, and we reinvest surplus. Cooperative housing, cooperative production.
That's right.
Well, that's goal, isn't it?
It is.
Excellent.
And we can do it.
Aye.
Not only improve finances of ordinary workers, but improve social conditions too.
Aye.
That's right.
That's what we want, isn't it?
It
Now
is.
you're talking.
And that means cash trading, near credit. We know better than anyone else. You get what you pay for. Only difference between us and shopkeepers out there is we'll live up to promise.
Ah, we will. I'll drink to that.
You have to understand my position, gentlemen. You can give me no guarantees, can you?
Now can be guaranteed, Dr. Dunlop. Not in anything. Not the way things are.
But you know how hard we work. As hard as anyone. That much we can guarantee. If anyone can make success of this, it's us.
I can't deny your commitment, Charles, and it's admirable, really. But you have no history of success. Cooperatives, I mean. No history at all. And running a store? No. We have storekeepers for that, experienced men.
You have space, Dr. Dunlop. Plenty of it. We're not asking for plenty.
I understand that, but like you said, the way things are, you might have to shut down after a month. And where does that leave me? Finding a tenant is not easy.
Of course, but that's what we can offer you. Even if we do shut down after a month, at least we'll have paid for space. What use is empty building to you?
Oh, yes, of course. I led you into that one, eh?
You know us well enough. You know we're serious, that we've raised our own money. You know we can afford to lease space. Not certain, but our own ambition. Our dedication.
I do know you, Charles, and I respect you. You know that. We disagree on many things, Charles, but you always do your best to find common ground.
Indeed. Not just out of courtesy, but respect. Same as you've shown us. It's the least we can do for one another.
But we can always offer more, I suppose. Very well. I have a place on Toad Lane, a warehouse.
Number 31.
Yes, but it'll need work if it's to be a store, Charles. Will you be able to do that?
Yes, of course. We'll make sure of it.
Very well. You've earned your chance, even though some will disagree. I wish you success, gentlemen.
Does that look like a shop to you?
Yes. We have to change it. Who wants to take these doors off the hinges and get rid of them?
But the expense, Charles, can we afford it?
I think so. You're right. It has to be done.
Aye.
This is just not suitable.
Aye, but we still have to think of costs. You know, we're spending money quickly here. And we still haven't got stock yet.
I know. But it's necessary.
Aye. It is.
Subscriptions. Can't argue with that.
Till someone forgets pay. Even then.
Even then.
Even then. You still have to fill shop. Got to find someone's shop there.
Why wouldn't they shop there?
Aye, why wouldn't they?
Well, because they're not worth buying.
Or there's now to buy. You're a wholesaler, Martin.
Yes, but if they've subscriptions, if they've brass.
Yes, I know. Martin. They might get brass, might even get shot. They'll have an outfill it with. That's the point. You're a wholesaler, Martin. Really, it's up to you, isn't it? They need you.
They do.
And you've got more than enough shops to provide for, don't you? We're called establishments for a reason, Martin.
Of course. That's a folly. I've said it, I know. We all agree.
Good. Good. Then we all agree.
William Cooper!
Sorry, Mrs. Croft.
Is Charles Howarth or John Holt in there?
I don't know, Mrs. Croft.
Well, where are they then, if they're not in their social institute? Weavers?
Have you looked in, Mrs. Croft?
Me? No, I've not been in there.
Sorry then, I don't know.
Oh, you're sorry. They're keeping out of people's way, they are.
I'm sure that's not the case.
Well, how come I can't find them then?
I don't know.
You don't know. You don't know much, do you, William Cooper? Or should I ask your Betty? She seems to have all your answers, doesn't she? Do you know what Mr. Butterworth says? And Mr. Leach as well, and they're two fine gentlemen. They say that your shop will never have a thing to sell. You've got our money, William, and now it's happening.
Everyone's working very hard to make sure that shop gets filled.
Oh, William. We've got less than ever. And you're taking our money and then you're making us wait. You're making fools of the lot of us. Now, no more of your nonsense. And people will know. I'll make sure of it. That shop of yours will never have a thing to sell. All our money wasted on Charles Howard's folly.
Can I have an half, please? Any news from wholesalers?
Mr. Howarth's still there now.
I thought getting store would be a difficult part, but these wholesalers, they're impossible.
Well, if anyone can convince them, Mr. Howarth can.
How did you manage it?
I didn't do a thing. He just stood up, put his coat on. Said, Daddy, come in. Come in where? I said. You do look pale, William. He's not a ghost, I can assure you. He's just been taken over by a spirit of one.
I think I've seen a ghost, Betty, but not your father.
William, I don't understand.
Sorry. I ran into Mrs. Croft.
Well, it's worse than a ghost. Anyway, wasn't it the other way around? She's always just running into people, usually when she has something to say to them.
She had no need to run into me. She was shouting the whole street down.
Yes, that's Mrs. Croft. She'll whisper, just between us, and then talk loud enough for 10 people to hear. She has to, otherwise we'd take any notice.
She as good as called us thieves, Betty.
What nonsense. She knows how hard everyone's working. Take no notice of her. Everyone knows Mrs. Croft.
She thinks we failed already, and people believe her.
Some people might, but not these people in here. Something good must be happening when even my father has made it out. Just forget about Mrs. Croft. Go on, sit down, Wit Ghost. Might even cheer you up. God knows it's an unusual day when you can say that.
William?
Good to see you, Mr. Smith. How are you?
Well, shan't complain, Bill. Even though I could. Betty says things will pick up.
Sure they will.
Oh, yeah. Well, they don't look it, Bill, I must say.
Sorry. It's just... Do you know Mrs. Croft?
Oh, yeah. She has her effect on folk. Bloody tiresome woman.
I hope you're not talking about me.
No, the Croft woman.
Oh, William. Take notice of her, I said.
I know.
What is it, William?
How many do you think it would take? If just a few pulled out, it would ruin the whole thing. Not even sure I'd blame them if they did pull out.
What? You don't mean that, William.
Look around you. Go out in the street. Who can afford to wait for a dream, an idea? People need that money. We need it. And your father...
It's not up to other people to tell us what we need. We paid our money gladly. We'd pay even more if we had it. Yes, it's a dream. But it's a virtuous one.
But it's all waiting. Waiting for subscriptions, shop, loan, and now wholesalers. They're set against it, Betty. Everyone is.
Obstacles. That's all. I'm still hopeful. Where's your hope, William?
Mr. Smith.
Charles?
It's good to see you. Evening, William. Betty.
Evening, Mr. Howarth.
How was it today?
Have we spoken to every wholesaler, Charles? Will none deal with us?
None. Yet. It's businesses. They're putting pressure on wholesalers.
Why do we even need wholesalers?
It's not easy to make change happen.
Pardon me. I didn't mean to...
Nay, it's all right, Betty. I quite understand your point. It's just...
Market, Betty. Manchester Market.
Manchester Market.
Now, why didn't you think of that?
Mr. Smith, will people never cease to amaze? When all hope is gone.
But how can we do it? We don't have means to bring out back.
That's true. We need all the money just to buy some goods. Even with that, we're not likely to fill store.
Samuel and me. We'll take a barrow. It'll save us money on cab and we'll be faster than most. We'll still be ready in time.
We'll make sure of it. We have enough time, I think, if we open late. What do you think, James?
It'll have to be that way regardless. If we open at 8 in evening, then nobody should miss out.
And on a Saturday too. We'll be open for all.
Are you sure you want to take Sam with you?
Are you sure Sam will want to go?
Nay, I'll just have to remind him that his money's in it too.
Now, John Holt. He's a good man. You should go here. He's got a good head for numbers and doesn't mind an argument.
Walking to Manchester. Sam will not like it. I don't know who I pity most.
No, this is not art, Sam.
No, it comes of it.
Bloody hell, Samuel. If they knows them so well, what does our manufacturer think? What does our factory owner think, eh?
What?
Listen, they think they're producers of their own wealth, but that's their arrogance. Because we're producers of wealth, they're the ones that benefit from it.
Well, it's just the way it is, though, isn't it, John? It's the way it always has been, always will be.
All right. I just want to keep it that way. Right?
Of course not.
Now listen, hey, come here. If we want to change things, we must change it ourselves. From bottom up, right to top. Bloody French way of thinking, my wife says. Well, maybe it is. There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, aye.
I mean, I'm sure she'd agree. Maybe she won't go as far as offering the reds. But then again, with her, I don't know.
Are you sure you're not French, John? Do you know what? I agree with your wife.
Well, I won't be the first, lad. She's a sharp lady. You know, I can
Just
tell
being
you.
realistic, John.
My missus, she's like me. She's a cynic.
Someone has to be.
Ah, see?
That's ridiculous.
Aye, and that's very English, is that, Sam? We like the disruptive voice.
Aye.
It gets us somewhere. But at the end of the day, same as you, our heart's not in it. Eh? Where there's heart is hope. And don't tell me they ain't got heart, because I know you have. And anyway, optimists live longer.
That is optimistic, innit?
Ah, yes, see, that's right, see? Don't worry, lad. Yeah, you can tell me I'm wrong if you like.
Thank you. Do you know what? You're wrong.
Ah, see, that's right, Samuel Ashford. They made a joke, Sam, that's the way. You see, you can paint your art as black as you like, but your blood still runs red the same as us. You can kid yourself, lad, but you can't kid us. You all right, son? Good lad.
Well, someone has to keep your feet on the ground, John.
You don't have to worry about that. My belly does that for me, son. So you don't have to
Take it off.
Admit it or don't.
Bit of this, Bill.
We know already. Everyone knows, Sam. You're either with us or you're against us. And here you are. You trust your friends, Sam, and they trust thee. That's why they're the bloody friends, eh?
So you're saying they'll have any more credit from you then, Michael?
Give it a week and they'll all be back. All enterprise is uncertain.
What can they possibly achieve?
Without capital, not a thing. It's just what I told them, Martin. They think brass just flows to us naturally. They're not out to industry, not at all. Because they've read a book. Really?
Enough of them had doubt. Mark my words, that doubt is the only intelligent thing I've ever heard from them. Anyone can read a damn book.
It's all a lot of nonsense. It's competition that succeeds. Competition built Rochdale, built the whole of Lancashire.
Make them read a book history, rather than one of them books with naught but ideas. Bloody foreign ideas at that. History'll teach them. Sooner they realise that, the better.
With a wholesaler, they've got out. What do they know as shops? A business. A weaver's a weaver, and a weaver's wife, well, they're just wives, aren't they? But maybe we can help them along with it, eh, Martin? Hello, John. Mrs. Shackle.
Mr. Butterworth. Mr. Leach.
We're just saying, Mrs. Shackle. Awful shame, isn't it? Well, all this business about wholesalers. What, you mean they haven't told you? That can't be right, surely, Mr. Leach.
They talk of principles, Mr. Butterworth. Fine idea.
Here, Harry. Have they heard about this?
What's that, Ruth?
All this business with wholesalers.
No, what?
Wholesalers just don't want to deal with the society, John. It's as simple as that. However much money you've put into this scheme, it's wholesalers who lose out in the end.
Just not risk we can take. Do they have money, they say? We just can't be certain.
So are they saying they haven't any money?
They have got money, Mr. Butterworth. Got our money.
But the renovations, Mrs. Croft.
Not cheap at all.
If you don't mind my saying, John, doors of shop may open, but I'll have now fill it with. I wouldn't keep my money with them.
It's an expensive business, you know, shopkeeping. And when need goods, well, it can only lose money.
Your money, John. People's money. Your friends.
Yeah, I spent an awful lot of money on that shop, Mr. Butterworth.
Aye, and on shop front too. Looks like a lot of work went into it. If I know my business, I say they have very little left, if anything at all.
Nobody knows business better than you.
But it ain't my place to say. Only because you've been such a good customer of mine, Mrs. Shackle. I value that. I'd hate to see you lose out.
Nay, Mr. Butterworth, I do thank thee. I think we must be going.
Aye.
Now sell, Charles.
You know that, John. We're working on it.
Oh, aye. And if I don't believe thee?
Why wouldn't you believe him?
Because you've got no money left. You spent it all on shop, and now there's no left.
Who told you that? It's not true.
I don't believe thee. When they're stood in a dark store with out on shelves, they can't even afford to light the damn place.
It's not a question of money. It's wholesalers. They're giving us nout.
And can you blame them, eh? It's not a shop, it's just an empty room. Now I want my contributions back. It's money I can't afford to waste.
Aye. Money we can't afford to let thee waste for us.
But you know we need notice for that.
Nay. It's fine, Mr. Smithies. If they want the money back, well, it's their money.
You haven't got it, have you?
Of course we have, Mrs. Croft. The bag, Mr. Smithies? Excuse me, Mrs. Croft. Thank you. Now, Mrs. Croft. Mrs. Croft, you had 12 shillings with us just now, is that it?
Aye, that's right.
Mr. Shackle, 8 shilling threepence aimney exactly.
Aye.
Mrs. Croft? John?
I mean?
Take your money if you want, John. But really, you must be able to see we're going to make this work.
I mean, they're not broke.
Well, there's your money, John.
Well, really, I won't be needing it just yet, Mr. Daly. Nay, they keep it.
James, what just happened there?
All change we had?
At least I now know what an heart attack feels like, eh? Go.
What have we got in here then?
Morning, sir.
Carrot, sir. Carrot.
Look, yeah, these apples here, fresh. They don't grow on trees, you know.
Come on, ladies.
Oatmeal.
Sugar. Right. Candles? Just need butter and flour.
Sam's getting butter. How are we getting these back, Rochdale, John?
Well, there's 3 of us in here, that's plenty.
Aye.
Always remember, Bill, now we always struggle. That's what they say, innit? No gain, no pain. Or is it the other way around? Hi, Bill, what's this? Oh, this is no good. Look, Bill, always check it, lad.
I'm sorry, John, I just didn't think.
Well, don't worry, lad, it just means you're a trusting fella, that's all. We can't take that back. Where'd you get it from? Which stall?
First stall down on the right. Here, let me take it.
No, you leave it to me. You watch the gear. I'll sort this out.
Hey up.
All right.
Where's John?
Come on.
Yeah, I can see that it's oatmeal, sir, but it's oatmeal with chalk in it and frozen shells. I mean, that's not how it normally comes, is it?
Not usually, no.
Yeah, only on that occasion, when the man that's buying it's not wearing a silk cap, an handkerchief and a silver top cane, eh? I mean, you look at my friend, because he's got mud on his shoes, you think you can sell him any old rubbish. I'll tell you what, lad, there's a worse looking man than he is, and yet he still comes to buy from me, does he not, eh? You've got a face only a mother could love. I mean, no offence, like. Where would it be if we just judge people on their appearances, eh? I know where you'd be.
Look, he bought it sharp enough, he never specified.
Oh, pardon my ignorance. I didn't realise that tarnish was a variety of oatmeal. Well, now I'm specifying. We paid for untarnished goods. Paid for with brass, which was probably harder than 9 or wager. Don't be coming here, sir, unless you want to buy tarnished goods. I mean, this man, if you want tarnished goods, this is the place to come. This man only supplies tarnished goods. Here are tarnished goods! Anybody now, get your tarnished goods! Anywhere now, tarnished goods in many varieties.
Look, we've replaced it for you.
Thank you very much, sir. If only all salesmen was as honest as they, lad, eh? The world would be a better place.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon to you,
Good
sir.
afternoon to you, sir. All right, flour, lads, we want.
Fine.
And then it's home. We have a shop to run.
Got a nice walk to look forward to. Can you manage, Bill?
Aye.
Only 15 miles back.
How'd it go?
As expected. With no gas. At least not for tonight.
Hmm?
Keep hearing same objections.
Something's going on out there.
Been alright, isn't it?
Aye.
In the end, good laugh. Better if you two weren't here.
A good laugh. You've not stopped moaning for the last 20 miles.
You good, John? How you doing with that?
Of course it's alright, it's downhill.
Oh, all right, mate. I think I might need a new pair of shoes now, though.
You call that a stop? There's no in it, unless it's selling old men.
First time I've been happy seeing bloody children.
My wife found out they worked at factories. She asked us what they do. Cause a bloody nuisance, I said.
Bloody players want social reform and they can't even reform their own damn children.
Hey, how much you reckon it'd cost if we paid one chuck a stone through window shilling?
A groat. Not even that.
Excuse me, gentlemen.
Right, it's a bit dark, Charles.
There's no gas, John.
Right, Sam, they've got candles. Let's have some light on the subject, eh? Well, what does think?
I think we'll soon have a shop, John.
Mr. Daly, Mr. Smithies, the shutters, if they wouldn't mind.
Not like making it official. Hey, Charles.
Well, thank you for that. Well, that was great. That was very revealing, a very revealing dramatisation, and it still really resonates today. The key principles behind democratic ownership that co-ops still, the movement still abides by, the need for better working conditions, living conditions, women's rights. These are all things that the Co-op Party is still campaigning for today. Just to you know, and it still shows that it's not easy to make change happen, but it's best to do it at kind of grassroots at the bottom and work up, which is just what our campaigns that we run today at the Co-op Party, the campaign for food justice, to protect retail workers, or campaign to rid modern slavery from our supply chains, is all exactly working with with local councils, with people in their local areas to make things happen. And on that note, I'm going to pass over to Dr. Richard Macready, he's going to be speaking a bit more about the Rochdale Pioneers and the legacy, and why the co-op movement is still as relevant now as it was in 1844. Richard has got a doctorate in 19th century history. He specialises in the rise of the Labour movement, but he's also well known to us all as Co-op Party members. He is a Labour and Co-op councillor in Dundee. He's a director of Scott Mid Co-op Society, and he's also my colleague. He is the Co-op Party's political officer in Scotland, and so he works directly with our Labour and Co-op MSPs to ensure that co-op values and principles are applied in the Scottish Government. So thank you very much, and over to you, Richard.
Thank you very much, Izzy, and thanks very much to the Co-op group for letting us see that film. An excellent film, which I certainly saw, I think, first time in the UN year of cooperatives in 2012. I think really important. You know, I would say, I think Izzy's given me quite a build up there. I would say I'm not an expert in co-op history, but I think it's important that we do look at our history. I'm going to reflect very briefly on the film and on a few other things. And also, I think, you know, agree with a lot of what Ed said at the start, that essentially, you know, the cooperative movement isn't a heritage project or a museum. You know, I think many people would, you know, when we tell other people that you're involved in the cooperative, lots and lots of people will tell you what their grand's divvy number was, and lots of people will tell you that they use their grand's divvy number as their PIN codes and their log on to all sorts of things on computers. And that's important, and it's something that we should build on as a movement. We should. There is that you know, that belief in the importance of cooperation and in the history of people's families, people's lived experience. But we need to make sure that people see that as an important thing for the 21st century. We, you know, well said, we're not a heritage project or a museum. We absolutely should be supporting things like the museum in Todd Lane in Rochdale, the Pioneers Museum. You know, I think one of the things about lockdown is I managed to smash my mug out of the Pioneers Museum at the near the start of lockdown, and I really should hope that sometime soon I could go back and get another one. But we should be supporting places like New Lanark. I mean, I think we saw from that film that you know, the rise of the cooperative movement was clearly linked to lots of other things that were going on in the 19th century, linked to industrialisation, linked to urbanisation. You know, it was the people moving into cities that caused that moving into urban areas that caused the need for these sorts of things, and the need for a cooperative store. Also linked to things that were mentioned in the film, like the, you know, the Chartist movement, you know, looking for a greater democracy, looking to give people more of a say, and how government was run. I think at the time, probably a lot of working class people thought that, you know, having a say in how the government was run probably wasn't their top priority, because having a, you know, trying to put food on the table was more of a priority than deciding whether it was Gladstone or Disraeli or Peel or Wellington who were the Prime Minister or whoever it was at the time. So I think that's important. I think although the film does do you know, does cover this, I think there is an issue with the whole thing around the lack of female representation in the historiography of the cooperative movement. That we're all, I'm sure, very aware of the picture of the Rochdale Pioneers, which taken several years after, not contemporary to the events, but the famous picture. And indeed, as he said, I'm a director of ScotMid, and I'm a director of ScotMid representing the north part of Scotland. So one of the legacy co-ops that I suppose I represent is the Brechin Cooperative Society, and they've got a very similar picture, which is in ScotMid's headquarters, which is actually a painting of a lot of Victorian gentlemen sitting around the table. So I think we do need but we need to recognise that women were important from the very start, and we need to find ways of getting their story out, and letting us find out about that. And I think that obviously the film was about Rochdale, and the cooperative group in particular, and indeed the movement more widely, does claim Rochdale as a sort of founding cooperative. And the thing that doesn't particularly come out in the film perhaps is that the Rochdale Pioneers wrote down a set of rules which has eventually become through several iterations is to some extent the basis of the cooperative values and principles, which are now which the International Cooperative Alliance has decides on, updates occasionally, but essentially decides whether something is a cooperative, and also tells those of us who are in the cooperative movement what it is we should be doing. So I think that's that's the real importance of Rochdale. And I think as a Scottish voice on this, I can't not mention the Fenwick Weavers, who formed together as a kind of weavers group in 1761 and started 1769, bought food together, and opened the store and did all sorts of other things. And I mean, the other thing I think is quite interesting about them, that I would be quite interested to find out more about, is that Fenwick is 3.5 miles from where David Dale, who Robert Owen's father-in-law, was born and brought up. So it's highly unlikely that David Dale did not know about the Fenwick Weavers, and whether that had any influence on his mill at New Lanark and on his son-in-law's activity would be quite interesting thing to see. And I suppose the other historical thing which I always like to point out is that I was brought up at the bottom of the Campsie Hills to the north of Glasgow, and in the next village to where I grew up, there was it was called which is called Lennoxtown. There is a cooperative group store, and there has been a cooperative store on the main street in Lennoxtown since 1812. And I think and there are other instances of co-ops being in other places. But I think the importance of Rochdale is about writing down the rules, and and sadly, notwithstanding what I said about we need to find the story of women in this, and we need to recognise that women did become members of the Rochdale Pioneers society 80 odd years before they got the vote. So I think that is important. But we need to recognise the importance of Rochdale, and I think we also need to say essentially all of this, which is kind of what Ed was saying at the start. All of this, as I say this, as he introduced me as a historian, and I suppose I am, and history is very important, but it's not worth anything if we don't. I don't think you can necessarily learn from history, but I think and history doesn't repeat itself and all that sort of stuff. But we need to. Our challenge as cooperators in 2021 is to think about what was relevant today. So that was getting food that was unadulterated, where people got what they paid for, where they could guarantee the quality of it, where things that we take for granted, like things being weighed in front of you, which is something that the cooperative movement brought to shops, all these sorts of things. That's what was important to folk in Rochdale in 1844. what would they, if they were here in 2021, what would they do? And I think it would be things like food justice, it would be things like climate justice, it would be things like racial justice. And I think, you know, we need to challenge ourselves all the time about, you know, our history is important, but it's not about preserving our history for the sake of preserving our history. It is about preserving our history to challenge us as cooperators in the 21st century to create a cooperative commonwealth in the 21st century, and how we would go about doing that. So I've probably spoken for too long, Izzy, but that's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
No, fantastic. Thank you so much, Richard. Now, if anyone's got any questions about the film, then do put your hands up and we can take them. There's a couple that have come into me in the chat. One from Jude saying that was very entertaining and educational. Thanks for playing it. Was this the beginning of the consumer cooperatives or the co-op movement on the whole? And what's the difference between a consumer co-op and a worker co-op? So, Richard, I think you've addressed the Fenwick Weavers and
I mean, I would say that in terms of the Fenwick Weavers, there's a bit of historical revisionism that not entirely convinced. I say this as a member of the Fenwick Weavers Society, but not entirely convinced the Fenwick Weavers thought they were cooperators, to be honest.
Right. So yes. So it is. We see the Rochdale Pioneers as the founders of the current movement.
I mean, obviously, as it said in the film, there were other attempts to kind of for people to band together, and there were other places where there were groups that came together to buy food together and sell it, or to share it together, which I think you could say were co-ops. But I think essentially the big thing about the Rochdale Pioneers was that they wrote down a set of rules that became a sort of standard template, which has been used over, you know, it's been developed over time, but you know, I think pretty early on they were against selling drink and things like that. So that for some of us, thankfully, that's not the case anymore for our cooperative societies. And I think in terms of workers' co-ops, I mean, obviously they are different, but essentially they are trying to work to the same kind of values and principles. And in many respects, that's, you know, what Rochdale, you know, what the Rochdale Pioneers brought to society, was that there were different ways of doing things, that it wasn't all about trying to make as much money as possible, that there were different ways of organising society and organising business.
Hello, Izzy. It's Philip Watson speaking.
Hello, Philip. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm a little tired, given my advancing years. I have difficulty with these modern devices, but I'd like to ask either yourself or Richard just one or two questions. And first question is, I enjoyed the film. I watched the other films when I was a member of the area committees before they got abolished. And I've actually been to Rochdale, to Toad Lane. Very interesting, very, very interesting place. What I'd like to suggest is, if anybody's prepared to listen to me, that those councils which are cooperative councils, that they appoint someone or give someone the responsibility for political education regarding the co-op party and an education regarding cooperative business. Because it's amazing how many people I come across who haven't the faintest idea what the cooperative party is about, what the cooperative party means in parliament or in local government. And when you speak to people going to our local cooperative stores, they haven't the faintest idea what a cooperative is. They know what the Asda is and Tesco and those capitalist outfits, but they don't understand the dividends for cooperators. And I'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah, thanks, Philip. We are trying, always trying to get our message across, and certainly that Ed will be able to say from, you know, the co-op is still stands by its principles and values, and has been leading the way in many things throughout the pandemic. So I think we're certainly getting the message across. More and more people are becoming more aware of cooperative values and also the work of the party.
I think it's a really challenging point, Phil, and you know, I'm reminded of the work done by Co-ops UK in 2018, which effectively said the principle we struggle with most is principle 5, you know, education, training, and information, and actually how we get that out. And we struggle to do that. You know, we don't feature heavily in academic textbooks, you know, at a young age. So that's a real struggle, but sometimes it's some of the simple things we do. So, you know, the reason I bought the rights to this film was to be able to give it out. That's why we've used it tonight. That's why, you know, if you ever, any of you need to use it to help support cooperative education, please contact me, and you can. And we'll continue to try and do that, but it may be done through different ways. So some of the work I'm doing around access to food, some of the work the Co-op Party are doing around access to food, it's something that people really care about. And actually, if they can see cooperative solutions in that and through that, rather than just talking about the co-op, will help to show them how cooperation can affect their lives positively. And I think that will be part of our Principle 5 work.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. And I've just got one question that's coming from Jenny de Villiers. She says, could you give us a bit more information about the training on that member pioneers receive on how they pass the messages in their local communities?
So actually, I'm a bit further away from member pioneers than I used to be. I was involved in the development of them. I think she knows that. I've been doing some work with the Co-op College last year to help develop modules for the member pioneers around cooperative values and identity, which I think that the member pioneer managers are taking forward and looking at to help them to develop that further. But that's a training that will roll out. What we were looking at that particular time, I think, was in the second or third months, once they get into their role, but not building their local action plans too far, to be able to then embed that. The idea of the member pioneer model was based on making sure that we are talking about cooperation and working in a cooperative way in communities, not just in our stores. So we're getting out of our hubs into stores. And part of the reason to do that was to share cooperation.
Thank you. Well, I think we've taken everyone's time tonight. Thank you very much, Ed. Thank you very much, Richard. And great questions there. I think we've covered everything there. So anyway, I won't keep you any longer. But you know, we're running these summer schools on a weekly basis. So do join us next week for our, we're going to be talking about our relationship with the labour movement. So we'll look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.